Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live online info session for the CELPIP Preparation Program at Ashton College. Very excited to have you all here today. My name is CJ McGilfrey. I'm with the Marketing and Communications team. I'm joined by several colleagues today. We have Rika, who's our technical Zoom host for us. We have Maggie from Student Services and Admissions, and we have our instructor, Sam, who I will be interviewing today, all about the CELPIP preparation program. So just a couple of housekeeping notes for our attendees. We love engagement. There's lots of ways that you can ask questions during this session, whether you're joining us on the Zoom webinar or Facebook Live, or if you're watching on YouTube after the fact. On Zoom, we have the question and answer box. We also have the chat box function and even the raise hand function if you want to take the mic and ask a question. On Facebook Live, you can always just leave us a comment. Same thing for YouTube, and we'll be able to answer those questions during the session or afterwards via email as well. You can always reach out to us at ceinfo@ashtoncollege.ca or 604-891-1256 or toll free 1-866-759-6006. So as I said, very excited to have you all here today. Sam, I just want to welcome you and thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Lovely. So to get us started off, I always love hearing a little bit of an introduction from the instructor, just about your career experience, a little bit about your educational background, and what brought you to teaching this preparation program at Ashton College.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Sam Behroozian, and I hold master's degree in TESOL, teaching English as second language. I also hold the TESOL Canada Certificate Permanent for teaching, and I'm Paragon certified for testing CELPIP, CELPIP Prep. Then I'm Cambridge also certified for teaching IELTS. What else? I've been teaching, I've been teaching ESL and test, let's say, IELTS, TOEFL, CELPIP for over 7 years here. And yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Sounds like you have a breadth of experience and knowledge about all of the different kinds of exams and, English language preparation.
When you start with one and then you notice that there is another one, you come to think of the similarities, the differences, then you get excited to go with the other one as well.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, we know that two of the most popular English language assessments in Canada are CELPIP and the IELTS. So what are some of the differences between them? Maybe we can focus a little bit more on CELPIP.
Yeah, so CELPIP is generally computer-based. The candidate goes to the center, and it is he or she with just the computer. Everything is done on computer. And so in a way, you can be yourself, and there is not any other factor outside you that can affect you. But IELTS, so originally it was paper-based. Now they also go, with the computer, but even those computer-based, when it comes to speaking, it is in person. So you have to see the examiner right in front of you, and then you talk. So here it depends on the person. Some students, some candidates, let's say, feel stressed out if there is an examiner in front of them. So they feel better if it is on computer, but I still have had some students who prefer the other one. So it depends on their practice and their habit in a way. But another difference is that IELTS in speaking and listening, let's say in listening, IELTS is British with British accent. So the person who is living in Canada, US, or any other countries where British accent is not that common, I would always suggest them, that they should practice listening to British accent, and for some time, because sometimes you do know the pronunciation, but if it is pronounced differently, you may not grasp it, like the word laboratory, which is American and Canadian with American Canadian pronunciation, but in British it would be laboratory. So for the candidate, if it is the first time that he or she hears laboratory, they may not know what the person is saying, but they already know the meaning of the word, you know? So yeah, the accent is another difference. Then there are, if you want to somehow go deep, there are so many differences in terms of subcategory when it comes to writing. For example, in writing, we have task 1 of IELTS is a graph that you have to interpret. But when it comes to CELPIP, it's not that, you know, it's an email, and then there is a survey, and then the survey is most commonly what you can see in your everyday life. So in a way, my own students, mostly after getting familiar with CELPIP, most of them said that it feels more at home, you know, when they want to do CELPIP, because they have lived it, you know. But in a way, it seems that IELTS is testing more academically, but CELPIP is more real life oriented. That's to put it in general.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a huge emphasis for CELPIP on practical experience in the workplace, in everyday life, very relatable, very accessible information. So that's, I think, really good for prospective students to know, especially when they're considering the various exams.
That's right.
Yeah. So the CELPIP program has 4 separate modules, and people can sign up for various modules. We have the listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Do you think you could do a little bit of a breakdown for us on how the prep program approaches these 4 different topics?
So each of them is presented on one specific day, right? So imagine, for example, writing is being held on Monday, for example, for 3 hours. So, and then next session will be next Monday. But each part, as I said, has some subcategory, right? So maybe if we go with you said writing. So in writing, we have 2 kinds, right? So the first one is email, and the other one is responding to a survey. So we deal with them one by one, and each of them based on what they need. For example, academic vocabulary, then strategies for responding, because in a way, for example, you need to be kind of assertive, but at the same time tactful, right? When you're complaining, for example, imagine you're complaining. One of the most common ones is that you complain of something to your landlord, or I don't know, to one specific department, and then how you do it in a way which is forceful enough, but at the same time you're being respectful, right? So different strategies, how synonymous vocabulary can differ in presenting your idea different ways. Then the grammar that is to be used, for example, for each part. So, but let's say if I want to put it in general word, I would say we would go strategy-wise. For each subcategory, we present strategies, how to deal. So let's say first we familiarize the candidates with the nature of that subcategory. And then what are the strategies to be used, which is not only good for saving time, but also tackles the task very effectively.
Amazing. I love that there's that focus on strategies, and already I can hear just from listening to you talk about it, obviously this is a preparation program for the exam, but when you spoke about tact, when you spoke about assertiveness in writing, these are skills that I would argue go beyond the exam. They're going to help people in the future in, landlord interactions, workplace interactions. Sounds like really vital skills that you would be focusing on in certainly the writing portion there.
Yeah, especially it's with CELPIP, because as I said, and you also reiterated that it is more of practical use. The person, if the person wants to live in Canada, they do need these things, and they will continue, or they will see them, even if they won't continue, they will see them in real life, so they will easily, even I think consciously or subconsciously, they will continue them, continue learning them.
Yeah.
Yes.
It also sounds like skills that transcend language. I'm just thinking about how assertiveness and clarity in communication is something that is important is in English. It's important in any language that a person is speaking. So
That's
really
correct.
vital instruction there. Um, wonderful. So this is just a very specific question, but in your teaching experience, is there a specific module that you think is perhaps the most difficult or one that students struggle with the most?
Yeah, you know, reading and listening are things that students can achieve the goal they want with more and more practice. But when it comes to speaking and writing, uh, you know, based on my experience, there is some level, something like when students get to intermediate level, many of them, not all of them, many of them get to some kind of plateau. They get stuck there. And the point is that most of them, I mean, my own students, based on my experience, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So living in Vancouver and going outside, talking to people, which is awesome, but which is the first step. Some of them were not motivated enough to read. So what happened was that they were encouraged to speak, but up to some level, which is intermediate. After that, because some of them didn't do the reading, didn't do the writing because they didn't like it or they didn't get the habit. I don't know. They get it. They got stuck there, and then they couldn't continue. I mean, they couldn't get to a higher level. So I would say speaking and writing, they didn't work on writing, get the grammar that much, or the vocabulary. They learned the meaning, but they didn't try to make sentences with them. They didn't try to use them in speaking or writing, and that's why there was the plateau.
Especially grammar for the English language, there's so many exceptions to the rule, and there's so many nuances to learn, and things that really come from practical firsthand experience of using the grammar on a daily basis.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the point is that sometimes they do know how to use the grammar point, but they don't get the habit of using it. So, but in the test, I always tell this to students that in the test, your job is to show off your knowledge. So whatever you know, the more complex grammar points, use conditionals, use conditional type 2, type 3. In some classes, I tried challenging myself with this, whatever the topic was, I was trying to say you can use gerund here, you can use conditional type 2, you can use subjunctive. Just try. And then I tried challenging myself to see if I could do that with any topic, and
Yeah.
we managed that.
Wow.
So yeah, so you know how to use causative sentence, then use it. You know how to use conditional, then use it. Show off your knowledge. And the good point is that if you use it in writing, then after some writing, it comes to the flow of your mind, and then you can remember it easily for speaking as well. So you need to write a little bit more than before so that you can use these grammar points, and even the vocabulary, the same story.
Is that a definite trend that you notice with learners? So when they work on improving the writing, that will eventually or through time translate into speaking?
Yes. So let's put it this way. In writing, we do think consciously what to say and how to say it. We write it. And so, no, I mean this. Oh, I can make it better with this. So you consciously think about it, what grammar point to use. But when it comes to speaking, you don't have that much time.
Yeah.
So what happens in speaking, let's say, the more frequently heard and the more frequently used sentences by you and by the people around you come to your mind first, and you just utter them. So you don't have the time to think, what grammar point should I? No way, you have to say it, right? So that's why when you write more, these grammar points, these vocabulary items become more and more automatic. That's why they it is more likely that they come to your mind much faster.
It sounds like the modules really, they work independently of one another, but also in tandem. The skills that you're building in one module might translate a little bit to the next module, or at least in terms of ongoing skill building.
They are presented, if I got your question right, they are presented separately, but they are absolutely integrated. Because just as an example, when you say, okay, part of writing is to know how to arrange introduction, and then how to start each paragraph with main idea. If you don't, then your organization is faulty, right? So when you learn this in writing, you in a way you transfer it into your reading as well. From the very beginning that you're reading, you have this idea in your mind that the writer is doing it this way. So you can get the main idea much faster. Or vocabulary, again, everywhere. Grammar is almost everywhere, in reading, speaking,
Can't
writing,
escape
everywhere.
it.
Absolutely. So in a way, they are integrated, although they are presented separately on separate days. Still,
Yes.
they are, integrated.
Yeah, that absolutely answers my question. I was just curious
Sure.
about the level of integration.
Yeah.
So, okay, a couple more questions here on my list. So, what would be your best tip for staying efficient and completing the exam within a short, the allotted period of time? So, any thoughts on efficiency and getting through that material?
I was thinking about something like some strategies to give students, to candidates in general, because in whatever class I am, I mean test prep class,
Yes.
candidates or students ask for tips and strategies, and I think they are very important nowadays. Even we have strategies how to read, even in classes, in high schools, in elementary schools, strategies for learning, for reading to learn better, or writing. So I came up with the idea of some strategies before the test and some strategies while doing the test. So I would, to answer you properly, I would say honestly, I like the idea of habit making. So we hear a lot of things that when we want to put them into practice, we get stuck. We don't know how to do it, right? Because our habit is different. So I think from the very beginning that a class for CELPIP or whatever the test prep starts, the students need to start making a habit of how to do the test. For example, part of the problem during the test is anxiety, stress. And we cannot say during the test, just focus on this, just don't think about whatever you say, don't think about, they will think about that, they
Of
come
course.
to their mind. So it is what they are, anyone supposed to do before the test, and it is not just 2 weeks. I would say more than 2 weeks, 1 month, if they know 1 month ahead, 1 month ahead, otherwise more, or as much as they have. So the point is this: we give them, I myself as an instructor give my students homework, right? So part of the homework can be something test like, for 5 minutes or for 10 minutes, do it. And while doing it, imagine you're taking the test under the same pressure, time limit, stop it, as soon as the time is over, stop it and see and test your and see how well you've done. Grade yourself, mark yourself, do whatever you want, write the problems you noticed, and ask for feedback. But then, test aside, try to finish it. That one for the sake of learning. So the first part is to be under the pressure, to experience the pressure of the test each time you're doing it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and find a way to recover. If you cannot, just tell the teacher, it happened to me, but I couldn't, even with your peers. Because sometimes they can give you better ideas in some things than the teacher, because you might be of the same age, of the same culture, you know, different people have different ideas. So it was just one example. I would say from the very beginning, while preparing, try to make a good habit and try to simulate the test session. Put yourself under that pressure, and then you will see some other stressors that you wouldn't ever think about, or even your teacher wouldn't ever think about that. Why? Because it depends on the person. Different people have, you know, might face different kind of problems, and they might react differently. So each of them should be addressed differently based on the person. So I guess this is it from the very beginning. But while doing the test, that's another story.
Yes.
But I'd rather tell them this after they have done the pre one. You know what I mean? Because they should be ready enough. But just one example could be the time. Those who are not familiar with CELPIP and have not done TOEFL test, I don't know about the new version of IELTS, computer-based. They must also have the time. So the first time I noticed it was with CELPIP, and I loved that. So the time is given to you in writing, in reading, in speaking. The time is given to you. Just getting the habit of checking the time, but not getting stressed out.
Yes,
you know what
not
I mean?
obsessing about it,
Absolutely.
but just having that awareness.
Absolutely. That's another strategy. Because sometimes you notice, and it happened to me a long time ago, that you notice you have put 3 minutes on one question, because you say, come on, how come I haven't answered that? And they say, okay, I have put a lot of time on it. I cannot just ignore it, but you can if it is over 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we have also guessing, how to guess wisely, strategies for that. So that's what I mean. So there are strategies for what to do during the test, what to do before the test, 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks or more before the test starts.
I'm so curious when you said strategies for wise guessing. That seems like such a fascinating thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
So let's go back to my list of questions. What advantages would you say students get with taking the CELPIP preparation program at Ashton College versus doing an independent study and learning the material on their own and then trying to do the exam?
I would say they're not that comparable in a way. I would love learning independently, but as the first step.
Okay.
Why? Because you can learn something by yourself. You can learn a lot. But the point is that with CELPIP, not that much. I mean, let's say not as much as IELTS and TOEFL. Why? Because there are so many books on IELTS and TOEFL. Some of them not that good, but still, there are so many, right? With CELPIP, there are not that many, first. And secondly, there is just so much you can learn by yourself. You will have to have a teacher who is certified by Paragon. It is Paragon who has designed CELPIP. So there are some ins and outs, some nuances of the test that they know better than, in a way, some also teachers, let alone candidates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I wanted to do that, I would try to have a class with a person who is certified to teach by Paragon, because that's the developer of the test. And the books can give you strategies, but they cannot give you feedback on where you went wrong. And the point is that I think if I'm reading, I don't know, I'm learning Spanish or German. I tried both of them, but I stopped because I got too busy. That's why I mentioned these two. But if I want to do them for a test, I would do as much as I can, but much before starting the test, I would have to have a person who knows of some strategies that are not mentioned in the books, of some intricacies, some nuances, some delicacy of the test that the others don't, of how to manage the time, of how to organize the writing, how to organize your speaking. And one of my students in, I don't know, it was CELPIP or another test like that, and he had 1 minute to answer, and he said, I was in the middle of talking that the time was over. And then I said, okay, there is a strategy for that. What did I tell you beforehand? And then thinking, I don't remember. Started with the main idea. And they said, okay, it was for writing. I said, yes, but it is for speaking as well. When you have just 1 minute, you give the main idea, and then you try to beautify, you try to explain it, you try to use this discourse markers, and then say, I missed that. Yeah, but next time, So there are so many. So let's say the feedback of the teacher is not just a feedback on your writing. It is good, but I don't know. The way I see the feedback is how you could make it better using what, not using what. And I think that's beyond just correcting some writing and giving it to the person. I think it goes beyond that. Yeah.
I feel like feedback was the largest theme that came out of that conversation, of what you are really getting with the preparation program. Probably interaction too, right? Being able to bounce the ideas.
Feedback is almost the second or the third point. The first point is, let's put it this way. When you start learning something, you do not have the general picture in your mind. You start, for example, with this module, this skill, listening. You open the book, listening, this. So in a way, I can say it's going bottom up from, a small element and make it bigger and bigger, which is good. But when you start with the teacher has the general picture. He or she knows where they start, where they want to go. They know of your weaknesses and strengths. And so from the very beginning, how to lead the candidate or a student is part of it. What strategies to give. Sometimes we give some strategies and the candidate, the student said, it didn't work for me. And then it does happen, right? Then you need to listen to that person. Say, what did you do? Do it now. Let me see how you did it. And then you analyze how it didn't work. Then you give a kind of something to mitigate this problem, So it's the feedback comes not exactly at the end, before, let's say, if there are 4, I would say the third one is the feedback, and then the fourth one would be to see how the feedback is working for the person,
Mm-hmm.
because the person needs to work on it. Even you would need, as a teacher, you would need to tell the person how they should work on each of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's totally different. You said, I would say, again, I would say it's awesome if the person starts by himself or herself,
Mm-hmm.
and then knowing, getting the nature of each task, I mean, each skill, then they need the teacher, they need
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
instructor. That's what I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fascinating, yeah, hearing you talk about that and the different sort of models of learning, top down or bottom to the top of how you take information and synthesize it. It's really
Yeah.
fascinating. I'm actually very excited for the students who get to take this class with you. Um, so I think now would be a great time. I'll just give a little shout out for our attendees. Again, if you do have any questions that come up, you can always put those in the comment section on Facebook Live or YouTube, or in the chat box or Q&A box on Zoom. You can also email us at ceinfo@ashtoncollege.ca, give us a call at 604-891-1256, or toll free at 1-866-759-6006. Sam, I have some more questions for you, but I thought maybe we could just take a turn over to Maggie and talk about the admissions process for the CELPIP Preparation Program.
Thank you very
Hi,
much,
Maggie.
CJ and Sam. Thank you for that information. Hello, everyone. My name is Maggie, Admissions Officer for Continuing Education. And I would like to invite all your inquiries about the CELPIP Preparation Program that we offer here at Ashton College. There are many ways to reach us. You can call, email, or leave your comments in this video, and we will attend to all your important questions. Ashton College also offer 4 CELPIP courses, that is reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Each course is 6 weeks duration with 18 hours of instruction. That is for each course. The next intake is on April 6th for listening, April 7th for reading, April 8th for writing, and April 12th for speaking. The registration fee for each course is $250. And I would like to share that being a part of the CELPIP Network program, we guarantee that students will be using the updated course materials, tutoring resources, practice tests, and other additional benefits from taking the course. Please visit our website at ashtoncollege.ca, and this is under continuing education. Thank you, CJ.
Thanks so much, Maggie. Always a pleasure. So Sam, back over to you. I just have a couple more follow-up questions. One of the, I think, most important questions that I ask in a lot of our info sessions is, why should students consider taking this program through Ashton College? What are some of the highlights, or for you, what's the big selling factor there?
So teaching anything, the person can have different ideas, different strategies. In a way, I think everyone is a learner, especially teachers. So anyone might be able to teach something, but in general, I do believe that if I myself wanted to take a course, pay for it, and put time on it, I would take it with a person who is certified by the developer of the test. You know, that's my idea, be it IELTS, TOEFL, CELPIP. And from the very beginning, we were instructed to get the training, however experienced we were, and yes, to in a way hone our skills better. So I think this is the most important one that comes to my mind. And in terms of teaching wise, regarding Ashton, I know Ashton has been in teaching, instructing different kinds of courses across different disciplines for a very long time. Even some of the tests I do know have been held in Ashton, in the physical location of Ashton. In fact, I took one of them myself a long time ago. Yeah,
Yes,
that's why.
Ashton Testing Services.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
why that's the way I got familiar with Ashton the very first time. Yeah, I do remember that. And yeah, so one is Ashton wise and the other one is teaching wise.
Mm-hmm.
These two come to mind first. Yeah, right now.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Um, I'd love to go off book a little bit. I'm just curious if you have any thoughts or reflections on how students or exam candidates are coping or being affected by isolation, specifically with the speaking and listening portion. I know you mentioned like going outside, talking to the grocery store clerk, sitting with your barista, right? There's all these instances where we engage socially, and we're not doing that as much with the pandemic right now. Do you have any thoughts on that, or
Yeah,
maybe advice
yeah,
for students?
yeah. In fact, when I finished talking about the, I don't know, usage or benefits of having the course, the difference between having a teacher or by yourself. And then after I finished that, I remembered another one, but I think so. So this is relevant here. So not only in the case that you mentioned, in some other cases, when we go shopping or doing the regular things, the number of words and structures that we use are so very little.
Mhm.
There are some, either they are cliche sentences or they have become cliche. Like, may I have, can I have, could you please, just some of these things,
Mhm.
frequently used. So even if we go out for shopping, still there is very, very limited scope of using, unfortunately, the language. So I would say one benefit of online courses is that they get engaged in speaking with each other, because um, the classes need to be interactive.
Mhm.
So the teacher needs to ask for students' participation. And the students who are participating, most of the time, or to me, mo almost most of the time, whether in pairs or in groups, they interact with each other before giving the answer to the teacher.
Mhm.
In case if it is just for shortage of time or lack of time, the teacher might address everyone at the same time. But
Mhm.
generally, they are groups. So they interact, and it is there that they want to make themselves understood. They are,
Mhm.
and they want to understand the others. When they don't, they need to paraphrase. This is using language that they need. So yes, nowadays, with at this kind of challenging, straining time, I think one of the best compensation for lack of speaking, especially for ESL students,
Mhm.
especially for immigrants who want to take uh, such tests, is to attend, let's say, some online courses which are relevant, not whatever, which
Yes.
are relevant, but getting talk and touch with peers,
Mhm.
because they have almost the same thing at a stake, which is
Mhm.
their test. They, in a way, they feel almost the same way regarding, so they have the same concerns. They talk
Mhm.
and they give each other ideas, they share ideas. So
Mhm.
that would be a great one. It's still, the after class they can have it with their own friends, but trying to maintain the topic,
Mhm.
not just where did you go, to just again normal regular words which are very, very limited
Mhm.
in terms of level.
Or
Yeah,
those memorized phrases, as you were saying, that we just throw them out. We don't really
yeah,
think about it that much. There's no, paraphrasing or analysis going on in the
yeah,
moment. So it sounds like interaction is a huge benefit of being able to take an online course like this.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Wonderful. Do you have any other advice for students if they want to continue practicing and continuing developing their English language skills for speaking or for other areas of focus?
Yes. So I would say I would first tell them that speaking and writing are not that separate. I would
For
say
sure.
they are both productive. And if they want to have a better speaking, not just speaking, but they do need to do writing. Even if it is just having a journal, writing some words, what I did, you know, even if they write a paragraph every day, I call it the process of changing your idea into words in the second language, in the next language. So this process, the more you do this process, the faster this process becomes. And then in the test, in the speaking test, one of the factors which affects your score is fluency, how fluent you are. Then the fluency is the process of faster and faster speaking. You have to have idea and speak. So this is one. And so writing every day, even for 5 minutes, even for 2 minutes, you know, listening to programs, if it is for CELPIP, to Canadian podcasts, which are easy to understand. Because I hear sometimes I sometimes in my class, for example, I was talking and then say, yes, I do watch movie. I said, awesome. What movie? And it was a new release. I said, how much did you get? And my student thought he got everything, but when we went in deep, we noticed that he got the story, but not the vocabulary, you know? So I always tell them, if you want to watch something for learning English, my own students, level, you know, intermediate, a little bit higher intermediate, watch animations, because animations are of more use to you because you understand them better. You understand the language better than the new released movie, you know? So this is for listening, and then for do keep reading every day. You know, I don't know now if the newspaper 24 hours is is it still out or not, because you know I don't go out
I
that
don't see
much,
the
right?
Metro or a 24
Yeah, yeah,
handed out anymore.
yeah, but they were very good because the level was lower than
Very readable.
other. Yes, exactly. And so but reading stories of their own level. If they go to library, they can get the stage stories, stage 2, stage 3. Just stay there for 5 minutes and read one page, 10 minutes, read one page. See if there are too many words that you don't understand, it's not yours, put it down. Get something, for example, in which you face just 2 new words on one page or 3 new words on one page, not more. You know, get these books and read them every day, at least for 5 minutes. No, for with just one page. Not possible, 2 minutes, because I did have students who said in their country they never ever were asked to read.
Okay.
We started with one page, and I think we accomplished something. But anyhow, yeah, starting from the very beginning and then building on it, and then it gets you somewhere. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's so insightful what you're sharing about finding material that's actually at the right level for you. So if you're reading
Exactly.
something where you don't understand half of it, then I can imagine it would be very frustrating. You wouldn't feel like you're making progress. I'm trying to
Yeah.
learn French right now too. And I've tried reading things that are way too challenging for me and it's disheartening. But when you bring that level down and it's more accessible, readable, it's the right level for the student or the candidate, then progress can be made, as you said.
That's right.
Yeah.
And when they come up with some good vocabulary, they need to try repeating, seeing the word. You know, they need to have at least one day for reviewing. You know, when you review some words, I don't know, 3 times a month, 4 times a month, they will stick in your mind. Otherwise, otherwise your time is gone, because
Yeah.
you would just forget it easily, and that's a pity.
Wonderful. Well, I just want to give a little shout out to our students. I think we're going to wrap up pretty quickly here. If you do have any questions that have come up or will come up after the session, please do reach out to us. Maggie will be able to answer any questions you have, or if it's more complex, we can always ask Sam for insight. You can always email at ceinfo@ashtoncollege.ca, or give us a call at 604-891-1256, or toll free at 1-866-759-6006. Sam, to end off our session, I always like asking, actually, I have two last questions for you. My first, and this is very on topic for us, do you have any books that you are reading right now, whether it's for fun or for educational purposes?
The very let's say the very last book was on EAP, English for Academic Purposes, because
Okay.
I was thinking of each term I tried to find some new book. So
Yeah.
I just found that one, and I need to get the book and give you the name,
Sure.
but yeah, I don't remember it right now. But that is a very good book, because it gives text to students and encourages them to think critically. So it gives them an idea, but then it asks questions to see what the reader thinks.
Mm.
And so it not only helps them, encourages them to think critically, come up with their own ideas, but also there is some part which is very useful for CELPIP also, this part, which is inferencing, because sometimes we read something, but the person, the writer, is saying it indirectly. So
Mhm.
we have to read between, we call it read between the lines, right? So what is the writer implying? What is
Yeah.
writer saying indirectly, Yeah, so I was reading this book, hoping to be able to use it for my next EAP class,
Wonderful.
because yeah, I have EAP class sometimes, and CELPIP, as well as two others. But anyhow, yeah, that's why I mentioned that one. So it was the very last one I was reading. If you want the name, I need 1 minute to
Sure.
go grab it.
No, let's
No?
email afterwards.
Yeah, sure. No
I'll add
problem.
it in the comments.
Yeah.
That's so fun though. It's such a good example of our value of Ashton College about that lifelong learning. I love that you say you're, always reading new materials, trying to incorporate that into the classroom. I think it's just evidence that the program is up to date and vital and relevant for students. So it's really exciting to hear.
It is because I cannot, I don't know how. Okay, anyhow, I mean, I was always at the library trying to find something better, because in that part, I was the person who was responsible for finding, the right material.
Mm.
And I can say I did work on at least 5 different books, each of them
Wow.
giving them something. The one before the one that I told you was called On Point, in 3 volumes. And the nice thing was that each unit had two texts of 2 different ideas. One of them, why to be vegan. The other one, why not to be vegan. And it exactly encouraged the student to say, okay, if this is not true and that is, okay, what do I think? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So
Mm-hmm.
they came up, they wanted to judge both of these things. So that was a very special book, On Point. But it's still, I
Wonderful.
got another one because of something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All about critical thinking. I love it.
absolutely. Especially nowadays.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, Sam, thank you so much for your time today. It's been
sure.
just a pleasure chatting with you. I feel like I learned a lot. I'm very excited for the students who will get to study with you. Just before we wrap up, do you have any final words of advice to share with students who are considering taking the program?
I think I do. And that is, whatever test you have, the 4 skills are together now, or if it is LS2 skills, you need to practice all of these skills almost every day. And even if it is half an hour, because then it's like reviewing. And the more you do this review, or the more you do this practice, the better it sticks in your mind. So the more, exactly, the better. In this case.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sam.
Sure.
Also just want to give a little shout out. Thank you, Maggie and Rika, for keeping us on point technically.
Yes.
Pleasure having you all here today. And folks who are attending, please do reach out, ceinfo@ashtoncollege.ca or 604-891-1256 or 1-866-759-6006. And with that, I'll just wish everyone a great rest of your week.